Hello, Louise.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Happy to be here.
We are here for another chapter review of A.M. Holmes' The Mistress's Daughter. We have gotten to the point where she is now compelled to look for more information as we all, many of us get to that point.
Yeah. The electronic anthropologist
Yes.
or genealogist. Anthropologist.
Both. Yeah. There was something. Oh, she said. Well, anyway, what struck you?
Everything. I had like a couple really big aha moments in this section that we're reviewing and discussing. Just some of her great writing. Maybe I've recently been doing this myself, and I know about this whole family out there, and they're not real to me because I don't know any of them except one person a little bit, and how she's just so torn on like digging in, and then is it real, and who are you? So the first quote that kind of struck me from here, hold on. Oh, just this. I mean, this is all adoptees when we're doing searching, I think, and just delving into it a little bit or a lot. She says, coming from a position of having no history, having any history, even if it's the wrong history, is
Yes.
fascinating. Every life lived is of interest.
Yes.
Because I like that. She went down all these dark holes where it's like you're down a rabbit hole with the wrong grandparent or the and then you know more about them than anybody you've ever known and who you were raised with. So it made me laugh because there was so many.
I thought that was funny too, because she said she hadn't been, she's searching for her biological, but she hadn't done that with her adoptive family. And I thought, well, yeah, of course not. Like I didn't have a ton of curiosity about my adoptive family's, when did they come to the country? When did they this? Because it had nothing to do with me. And I think I've known that for a long, long time.
Instinctively.
Right. And then when it came to my biological family, oh, they came over in whatever year, and they were first in Canada, then they were in, so just it's a more of a connection, obviously. But it was just funny how you don't like, that never occurred to me until many years later. Like, oh, that's why I'm not that, was never that interested,
We had my family had the big genealogy like chart, and like my uncle did tons, and so I knew about it all growing up in my adopted family, and I spent summers there, and it was and I'm a history person, so I loved it. I knew more about it than like my brother and other people, which is so funny because it's not even my blood family, but I was always very on the outside of it, like a history, like almost like a historical.
But did you
I didn't own it.
Right. I mean, did you know that you didn't own it? Because
a little bit deep down, I'd always wonder, like, well, that's neat for them,
right.
Who am I? Yeah.
Yes.
And so exactly. I love how she sums it all, like just her words in it, like, I don't know, this part, bloodlines. I find myself more and more interested in the strangers I never knew, what you're saying, and the blood relations that are unveiling themselves before me. I notice I am not as motivated to dig for history of the mother and father I grew up with.
Right. That's what.
I like this part. There is no escaping that what I am finding resonates. There is a hum of identification, a sense of wholeness and well-being. On a cellular level, it makes sense, it matches. And simultaneously, there's a kind of contradiction, a challenge to who I think I am, how I experience myself. The best way I can describe this experience, which eludes conventional language, is to say I think of this as the difference or dissonance between the unknown or dormant biological self that I arrived with and the adapted self that I became. The writing's like,
I know, she's so good. There's a whole paragraph that really made me laugh when she was looking at looking at the records of, part of her ancestors, and she's like, these are people who owned people and who sold or gave them away, and then she's looking at these early settlers, wondering, like, what were they thinking? Why, having come from such incredible privilege, did they not do more with their lives?
Yeah, she's like, they didn't do anything.
Like, why didn't somebody become, they had all this privilege and they came over here and, they got here. They were one of the first people here. Like, why didn't, from Europe, like, why didn't
Yeah.
they do more with it? Why didn't someone become a president or why didn't they start a nonprofit? Like,
I love
so
that.
I know.
This part was, I was reading this to my husband last night. He said, "Oh, that's what you do with somebody else." I won't say on the thing, but it says, "Why do I need for them to be good, better than good? Need for them to be great."
Yeah.
Like you want
Well,
them
it's
to
good,
be like,
it's like as before we ever many adoptees talk about this when they come on the podcast, the fantasy, the ghost world that you make
Mhm.
when you're young and fantasize. Like I've talked about how I thought I was an Astor, or come from this, you're going to have this fairy tale ending. So that then when it's just like, oh, these are, regular flawed people, maybe perhaps average. That's a
It,
horrible thing to
it
accept,
is.
average. No, couldn't
What do you
possibly
mean?
be the case. Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I had to come from greatness.
Exactly. I mean, what else could it be? Why else did I have to go through all this trauma if not to be more?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of verbalizing
Mm-hmm.
sort of random thoughts. Yeah,
Like,
so she goes through a big search, and this is when she's doing her search, it's the early 2000s, so there wasn't DNA testing yet that was available to the public. So
yeah.
she's really having to go to, which is how I found my half sister on my bio father's side in 2010, because it was prior to
Mm-hmm.
DNA research or DNA testing. But
Getting out
she's
the microfiche.
the microfiche, yes. And then finally she has to go, then she realizes like that there's been a divorce. I think it's her mother's on her mother's side,
Mm-hmm.
her mother's mother, or mother's father. And so now she had, in order to get divorce record, there's some sketchy things. So we're at the part where she's sent away, requested access. So
Yeah. To
kind of,
it's exciting in some ways because it's like this key of who you are. And then when you get it, it's deflating and exciting. Like, how does she say depression? You're depressed and excited all at once.
mm-hmm,
And I've been like
yeah.
that, those late night, just the 2 a.m. You're so excited. And then later you're like, oh, and it makes you still feel you're not whole. You're really, I was thinking about this whole thing now, how everything's electronic, and it wasn't then when she was writing this, how it's almost like social media, how it can be very depressing and fun at the same time. And it's a way to feel engaged without really ever being engaged. So I don't know if I don't know if all the modern stuff is so great. There's one line I wanted to call out to you that I was like, oh, Sarah will totally relate to. This small part. There's a part of me that resents how hard I'm working to locate information that they have all lived with all along, meaning her adopted family,
Yeah.
information that is theirs for the asking, or
I think her
anybody,
biological
or
family.
biological
That's what
family.
yeah. Like they already have all this and
no one really cares so much. Sometimes when you have it, you just know it. I was with my husband and his family.
well, you
over
take
the
it for
holidays.
granted
You
because
take it for granted.
well, people who were not, kept people, as they are
Yep.
sometimes referred to, often derogatorily in Twitter, I've noticed. It's not even a thought
No.
at all. I mean, it's not a thought until until it happens to you, so nobody can relate to it
No,
unless they've gone through it. There's not a person they can't understand it.
you
It's
can't
just,
understand not just knowing.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing where you come from.
This was my dinner conversation last night after I do these readings. Bill's always like, oh, great. Time for the book.
Okay. Well, we have a good guest coming up.
We do.
I think everyone will like him, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
See you soon. Bye.